Good morning, everybody, for what is possibly one of the most eagerly awaited interviews in South African racing history. We are joined by Tony Peter. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Joe. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Have a good weekend?
Yeah, quiet weekend. There wasn't Joburg racing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. In about 10 years' time, you're going to do what I did this weekend, which was go on a roller coaster. So I went on the first roller coaster at the age of 54 with Jesse, forced me to go on a roller coaster. Never again. That's
I'm
between
I'm terrified of heights. You're gonna battle to get me on a roller coaster.
I shat myself. And we went to this theme park, and obviously there's about 1 billion people at every ride. So the only ride we could go on was the Walking Dead ride, which was pitch dark, and a roller coaster. Oh, the only thing that made me cut more was watching Green with Envy win because I went against it. So a terrible weekend. But anyway, the horse won a nice race. Did you watch the race? You did. You had a run.
I did.
Tony, let's get like I don't think we're going to be able to do this in one part, but I know that you follow other sports, so just for the viewers that are watching today, there's something I've got to say first. Why am I wearing my Denver shirt? And in my house, we only watch surfing, racing, golf, and anything to do with horses, right? And it's amazing that we're having this interview today, because in my house, we've had a very tough weekend. And I'll tell you why. Because this weekend, we lost a golfer, a young man, 30 years old. His name was Grayson Murray. And Grayson had won a tournament on the PGA. But Grayson struggled with life. He struggled, and it wasn't a secret. And his parents put out a lovely message yesterday. And they asked for the world to just be kind to each other, So I wanted to give Grayson a mention. And then in the eventing side of things, we lost a young British athlete, a girl called Georgie Campbell. And she died in an eventing accident yesterday in England. So with all of this terrible stuff that happens in the world, right? How have you coped, Tony? How have you coped the last 6 to 8 months? Because you're doing, I'm telling you what you love, but it's been a hell of a ride, eh?
Yeah, it's been crazy actually. Not something a 28-year-old's supposed to be going through, to be honest. Yeah, it's tough, but I found that in this game we've got to be thick-skinned, and I struggled in the beginning with it, but everybody in life wants to have an opinion, and whether you take it or not is what counts. It's hard at times. But sure, with all this that's going on, you learn to cope with it. You learn to.
Yeah. We don't want to bog down on specifics. I wanted people. I don't feel, and we've had these conversations before, I don't think that after every winning interview that you have, which you have quite a lot of them, by the way, that people really get to know the Tony, right? And the family. And so I wanted the first part of this whole thing today is, Tony, if you didn't train racehorses, what would you do?
Well, I was a pro tennis player. I played in England. I got invited to play in a big tournament in Spain. My parents don't even know about it. They're probably going to kick my ass after they see this. But yeah, the bug of horse racing bit. And I decided to stop something that I was good at and sacrifice it for something that I loved. And yeah, sometimes you start thinking that you should have stayed in that department. But
if I look at Grayson and I look at Georgie, and I look at you, and I look at me, and we've got kids now, and isn't the greatest gift just to do something that you love, right?
100%.
It's got to be, right? Like, and unfortunately, that path is never an easy path, right? Because
I think in all walks of life, if you're good at something, you're going to get stick. You know, you're not going to get, it's difficult to please everybody. You're not going to get everyone to like you.
100%.
I think if you're good at what you do, it comes with the territory. You don't find in the media much a midfield from Southampton on the news much, because no one really wants to know about him. But
Well, they're in the Premier League now, by the way. They've
yeah, I think it
I
goes
get
with
what you're saying. But do you think so? Like, I'm going to come back at you on that, because I don't think it's just if you could. Like, I think if you murdered 1,000 people, you'd get some people that were on your side. I really think social media, and again, for the viewers, like, I know Tony quite well. We've had loads of dinners together with the family, etc. I support the yard. But I've come to realize that the benchmark for all of this is the Kardashians, right? Because, Tony, I think if you gave your kidney to a child today and saved his life, and we put it on social media, somebody would criticize it.
100%.
So it's actually just noise, right? And there's nothing we could do about it, but like, we might as well just have a laugh. So that's what I try and do all the time. I try and make light of these really difficult, dark moments. Otherwise, we'd all be in trouble. Tony, it's over a year now. You started with 5 or 6 horses?
4 horses.
4 horses. And now?
I'm at about 150.
150. Okay.
There's quite a few that have been rehomed that are at the end of their careers, but roughly about 150.
That's lovely. That's lovely. And just back to that tennis, right? How good were you? Because tennis is hard, eh?
Yeah, I still at a very young age, but I was in the top 2 in South Africa.
Really?
Under 16. So
it makes you the top 1 in Lebanon. Guaranteed.
Is there tennis in Lebanon?
Well, you were definitely number 1. It's a tough game, that, eh?
Yeah, tough game. You need a lot of dedication, and yeah, it's a nice sport though. Really is enjoyable.
Do you still play at all?
I haven't held a racket since I was 16.
Sure. Okay, so let's talk about switching off, mental health, all these things, right? What do you do? Do you ever switch off from the yard? Do you ever just sit down and open pistachios without thinking about a racehorse?
It's very difficult, and at the moment you do start, you'll get a phone call that there's a horse that's unwell at the yard, or owner that's done his work and wants to find out about his horses, and so it's very difficult. You try to, but it's highly unlikely that you really get that time off. Especially me, I get home and I start watching replays of all my horses that I've run recently or that are coming up. So it's a pretty selfless game. You don't get much family time. You don't get much time to do hobbies. But
do you think that will change, Tony? You're only 28. Do you think as your daughter gets older and maybe you're blessed and you have another one, do you think that'll change? Do you think there's a correlation between effort and reward, or is there a middle ground where there's effort, structure, and reward?
I think you have to have a structure, and I think that's one of my weak points. I'm a bit of a control freak, and I like everything to be done by myself. So I have a hard time trusting others to help do my job. So I'm a bit hard on myself, but I think it would be much more healthy if I had an outlet and I spent a bit more family time. But it's just a bit difficult at the moment. This game doesn't really allow for that. I think if you want to be the best you can be, you got to basically eat, sleep, drink what you do, because the minute you take your foot off the accelerator, it can all fall underneath you, type of thing.
It is dog eat dog, and it is highly competitive, but yeah, I get it. you know, where I live in England, I do see it just as hectic. And I mean, these oaks travel, trainers, you have travel like it's mental. Like Tony Carroll, who your dad has met a couple of times, I would say Tony would be doing 1,500 miles a week minimum, which is what? That's 20,000 Ks a week.
Yeah, that's crazy.
In his car, huh? Oh, no, not 20,000 Ks, sorry. 4,000 Ks a week, 2,500, whatever it is. He's doing 1,500 miles. I was converting it to rands. Yeah, so 1,500 miles a week is, yeah, 2,400 Ks a week he's doing, just going to the races, looking after owners and then driving back, you know?
Sure.
So I do notice quite a different mindset over here. And that is that, and this is Tony, I can speak for the Balding family that I'm very close to. There is the business, and then there is the social, the family time, you know.
100%.
That is quite evident over here. Right, Tony, and just run us through the yards. You've got yourself, you've got Mark.
Yeah, I've got myself, Mark. I've got John Foss, who was an ex-trainer. He
Yes.
handles my young horses and sort of helps me out with them, gets the backing done, starting to trot, hack, canter. And once it feels like he's at a stage where they're ready to move on, then that's where I step in with them.
Okay.
So he's a big help to our yard.
It's like a pre-trainer. He's your pre-trainer. Yeah.
100%. And I've got a lot of head lads that assist that are quite good, and without them, I don't think the stable would run. So I'm really grateful to have them.
We notice that in the interviews, don't we? I think you. I don't want to. Well, it doesn't matter what I say. I always get shot down. But I think you pioneered involving the staff in the interviews. I really do. I think the airtime that your family started giving the staff is now almost an industry standard. And I think even though everybody used to thank them, and I don't mean that others didn't do it, but you guys are quite prominent in getting the staff to the races, getting them to interact with the public. And I think that that's really good, because teamwork is the dream work, right?
100%.
It has to be like that. Okay, so your attention to detail came to my attention many years ago when we met in Dubai and everybody was partying, and you said to me that you weren't getting much sleep because you were watching how the sprinklers were watering Maidan. It was Maidan, was it? Yeah, it was
Maidan.
And as an owner in your yard, I don't know exactly how you train horses, and I've got horses with a lot of people. I don't actually know, but your like actual attention to detail is remarkable. Like you literally pay attention to like what some would say is the most blasé or innocuous thing, right? Where did that come from? Is it the control side of it? I mean, my son's got ADHD, right? He's got OCD. And you don't have to answer this, but does it come from something like that? That there's these little 1% you can gain everywhere, and if you can know where the course is being watered by staying up till 4 in the morning, which is what you were doing, that gives you the slight edge in your instructions to the jockey. Where does that come from? Did your dad put that into you? Where does that come from? Because it's
I think
noticeable. It's noticeable.
The most important thing is attention to detail. I think that's, if someone asked me what advice would you give to anybody starting out, the first thing would be attention to detail. You've got to, the horse can't talk to you. You've got to find it all out for yourself. And the more information you can get out of the horse without him speaking to you, the better the horse will be. And you've got to just try to get into the horse's heads. And when my dad was training, he started out at the Vaal, and we used to sleep there every night because it was quite a distance to drive home. So we used to sleep in the office in the stables, and I used to just go around the yard and just try to learn from each horse. Let them try to speak to me without speaking, and just try to get in each one of their heads and just see their ways and what they like. And I promise you, every single horse is different.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. I get you. And I think that's what translates to knowing where to place them, knowing when to run them. And I'm not saying, like, really, I'm not saying nobody else does stuff like this, but you seem to do it very, very well. And I think it's important for people watching this to understand that if they spend just 10 minutes with you in the morning, like, as a client, I very seldom feel that you're present with me. Very seldom. Because you're like, you're talking to, and I mean this in a really good way. You're talking to me, but your eyes, like, just watching other stuff.
Yeah, you've got to be on the ball. My dad didn't start from a racing background, so it's sort of like, I don't know if it's the right words to use, but it's sort of hard to be accepted. Whereas a lot of the trainers have taken over from family, and
Yeah.
he's come in from from working in a paint shop and
Yeah.
just being like a sponge and trying to suck off everybody, every small piece of information. But it's sort of hard to get accepted not being from a racing background, and so
No.
a lot of what we've had to do is we've had to just use trial and error and see what works for you, see what doesn't work for you, and just try and know your horse. My dad was an athlete. He ran in the Comrades Marathon, so he had
Yeah.
a sort of a guide of what he wanted to use. He put a lot of his training into the, even though it's not exactly the same, but
Yeah.
he got a treadmill, he used heart rate monitors. He
Yeah.
sort of tried to use a lot of what he used in running. He tried to transfer the knowledge to the horses, and a lot of it has worked. So,
Yeah.
but it hasn't been easy. He also started off with a handful of horses, all unsold horses from the sales that nobody wanted, and none of them won. But the stock started improving, and the results started improving, and sort of it started snowballing from there.
Yeah. So you've just mentioned that that's your journey from a wanting to be a trainer's perspective, but my journey was always I wanted to be an owner, because I used to go racing and I used to look up and see all those people. And in those days, I used to punt and gamble quite a lot. And I genuinely used to believe that they knew what was going on. Like, I believed that Mr. Jaffe knew what was going on. Mr. Beck, Dr. Podless, I believe that they were in the inside circle and I needed to get there. And when I got there, boy, oh boy, was I surprised. Like, it is the greatest leveler of all time, this sport. It is,
100%.
it's random, man. You can buy a horse because you like the name. Cleaver Green. I bought him because I liked the name, and he ended up being quite a decent horse. You can get given a share in a horse called Billy Bowlegs in exchange for a share in another horse, which was then sold for 100 grand. I mean, it's madness. And as I've come into the sport, all I've got is this burning desire to get more people like me in it, like just a normal oak on the street. Right. Tony, we're going to start talking about horses now. Before we talk about horses, you've got the option to say 2 words to me. One is no, the other one is comment. We had another 3 or 4 incidents on Saturday at Greyville. We had someone Friday in PE. Where do you stand on the TCO2?
You know what? I definitely think it's got a place in South African racing. I just think once the teething problems are rooted out and more testing's been done and they sort of know what's going on, I think it definitely has a place in racing. I think it's needed, but you know, in everything there's teething problems, and as you can see, there are a lot of teething problems in this department. But I think once they've gotten down to the bottom of it and they know exactly where they stand, and enough tests are done to know what's going on, I definitely think it is something that that has got its place in South African racing.
Brilliant. So we're now about 20 something minutes into it, and whoever's watching this has now heard it from Tony Peters' mouth, not on some blog somewhere. Tony has an acceptance of TCO2 and feels that we need it in as part of the governance of racing. Okay, so let there never be another misunderstanding on this matter. You're all for it, provided it's done properly and we all know what's going on. Right, Tony. A few of our viewers sent in some questions, but I'm going to ask you a few first. Currently, training at a 20% win rate. That is spectacular, Tony. So good for racing, like so good that people can bank these horses. So over and above the attention to detail, etc., you do like to place your horses lacquer, don't you?
I think that's got a lot to do with the strike rate. I don't necessarily like to run a horse if I don't think it's going to win. I know a lot of trainers have 5 or 6 or 7 horses in a race and just let them run. My dad's always told me there might be an old lady with the last 50 Rand pension money, and she's going to back a horse that she likes, and the horse might not even be ready to win. So I think that's got a lot to do. I can't say hardly ever, but a lot of the time I do not have couplings in a race because I want to give each horse the chance to win a race. And I don't think horses should be running if they're not out there to go and win a race. I don't know. That's just in my head. I know a lot of trainers don't like to do that. They like to tee a horse up, get them ready to win a race.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of the opposite.
You do know that the maths doesn't work in your favor, because when you get to 300 horses, you're going to have to run multiple horses in a race, right?
Oh, no. Well, I've started doing that. I've started to run a few more couplings in these last couple of weeks, because owners want their 2-year-olds to run, and you know, there's not enough races for all of them. So
I spoke to Sean about this. The program is really challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So I think that's going to be changing. We're going to run a lot more horses, especially the 2-year-olds. They're turning 3 now. There's not a lot of time left for them. So
time to get them out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to pop in randomly 1 or 2 questions, and then we'll talk specifically about horses. Please ask Tony Peters, will Main Defender run again in the champion season?
Yeah, so we've entered him this morning for the Gold Challenge Group 1 mile.
Nice.
Next week, Saturday. So that was our main aim all along. Pity couldn't get a run in before that. But he's not a horse that takes awfully lot of work. So he's doing well, and that's our next step with him.
Is he your flag bearer, Tony? Is he your number 1 horse in the yard?
Well, at the moment,
from a ratings perspective, he's the highest rated horse in your yard.
Yeah.
So he is, right?
He is.
Okay. I'm looking now at some of your recent horses that have won. There's a couple that I want to talk in specific, and then we can talk about the KZN season afterwards and what you're still planning to do. But I was particularly interested in a horse running the other day called Give Me a Choice. I used to have a share in that horse, and then we sold him. We always knew he was a nice horse, but he won his second start for you quite impressively. Would you say he's a horse to follow?
Joe, I do think he's a horse to follow. He's a really nice horse. He's just very mentally immature. He is he's just, you wouldn't say he's a 3-year-old, you'd say he's a 2-year-old on the way he acts and behaves, and he's sort of unsure of himself. So he's had 2 runs close together, and he's running again on Thursday, which is close, so he's going to have 3 races close together, but that's more just to bring him on mentally. I don't really care how he does. If he gets beat, I won't be disappointed, because I know that he's not where I want him mentally, and that he can't contest against older horses if he's still acting like a 2-year-old. So challenge is to get him mentally mature, but he does show a lot of ability.
Okay, cool. Before again, like I'm not the best interviewer in town, and if we jump around a bit, then they have to watch longer because they don't know what's happening. Tell us about 𝐿𝐴𝐶 and Suzette.
Yeah, so Uncle 𝐿𝐴𝐶 and Auntie Suzette have been with me from day one. The first 4 horses in my yard were from them, and they such amazing people. It's not easy for them having horses in my yard, because they get all the backlash and get fed all the negative feedback on us, but they've got the same beliefs as us, God-fearing people, honest people, and they've stuck by our side through the good, through the bad, and I'm forever grateful for all that they've done for me. If it weren't for them, I don't think any of this would be possible.
Yeah, that's good. And I mean, but they've reaped the rewards. You've got some pretty good horses of theirs that started with you, and obviously you inherited some horses that you, I don't know if the word improved is improved. I think it's overused. So how we go with something different, unlocked their true potential. Because if we go back to the attention to detail, it might just be as simple as that. Maybe you didn't improve them. Maybe you just unlocked their potential. You just figured out what they needed.
Yeah, a lot of them, a lot of the racing, on the Highveld is a lot weaker than the Cape. So you'd get a maiden running with horses that end up winning feature races, and then he comes here, or she comes here, and they race with maidens, like junior maidens. So it's a lot of the horses breathe better. A lot of the horses don't bleed as much as they do on the coast. So it's just a whole lot of factors. Why it's, if you go and have a look at quite a few of the trainers, there are a lot of horses that are winning their first start from Cape Town. A lot for a lot of trainers. So it's just depending on which horse likes which province the most, I think.
Which province do you like the most, Tony? Where's the best racing in South Africa? I know what I'm going to say.
I love Joburg, but the vibe in Durban is...
Right, Tony. KZN season. Main defender, you entered today. What else are you planning to take down?
I've got Bavarian Beauty entered for the Tibushina.
Okay.
She sort of hasn't come back to herself after the Cape trip. She didn't travel well at all. She broke out in a stress rash. She's come back and she sort of hasn't been herself, but we've given her a break after her last run. She's freshened up really well. She loves Durban, and we've got her entered in the Tibushina, so we're hoping she can.
It's on the 1st, eh?
Yeah, no, it's on the 7th, I think.
Oh, the 8th. Sorry, the 8th.
Yeah,
you're right. Sorry.
I've got Scars of War entered in the 2-year-old race.
She won a nice race the other day, hey?
She won a nice race. She beat a substandard field, but the way she did it was quite impressive. She's always showed a lot, but her temperament seems to get the better of her at times. She sort of seems to have settled down after a couple of runs. So we're hoping that she can continue to improve and show us and produce what she's showing us. So we've got her entered as well for the 8th.
Okay. And anything else you're planning to take down for the season?
We started off the season quite slowly, the Cape Town season.
Oh, Durban. Durban
the,
season.
the Durban season, but we're looking to finish it off strong.
Yeah.
We've got the Maritzburg meeting this weekend.
Yeah. Well,
Pistol,
you've got something down there, haven't you?
yeah, Pistol Pete's running in the medallion.
Okay. Where did you do it?
Yeah, I think he drew two.
Oh, nice. Scottsville.
But
Brilliant.
yeah, Scottsville. So he's running. We've got a new addition to the art swing up on the star. I'm
Oh,
taking our chances with him. One fell swoop, a decent filly. We've got her running as well. So
okay.
we don't have. We go in there with a couple of nice horses, and we're
Hopes
hoping
and
they
dreams.
can
You're going with hopes and dreams.
make some dreams. That's it.
Okay.
And
Tony,
then late on in the season, we've towards the end of the KZN season, our 2-year-olds that are likely raced would have had another start to 2 year in Joburg, and yeah, we've got a lot of very nice young horses that will be contesting on Gold Cup Day.
oh, lekker. And do you travel down and back, or do you believe in leaving them there, or what is
Yeah,
your
we rate them. We rate them. It's just easier for us. We can't be at two places at the same time,
yeah.
and especially me, I'll have a heart attack if I don't know what's going on. So, we training them, yeah, and we riding with them. We seem to have had success like that over the years.
Okay.
So, yeah, why change a winning formula?
100%. Right. So now give us 5 to follow, Tony. Give us 5 horses in the next 6 months, 5 and 6, that the viewers can follow that you think will go through. And if they're any of mine, I don't care. We will talk about my horses as well. But give us 5 to follow that you think, hey.
Yeah, we can start with the young horses. We've got a horse that won on debut the other day called 𝐒𝐞𝐚𝐬𝐧. He's quite nice. He beat quite a strong horse in that race. He's a 2-year-old. We've got a horse called Taxi to the Moon, which is also talented. He's still a very immature horse, but he'll improve as he gets older. He's nice. A horse called Buffalo Storm Cody. He won on debut and he pulled his hamstring muscle in his next start, so he's on the mend again. He still managed to run third on 3 legs. So yeah, and then the fillies, 𝐒𝐴lmond, she's nice, 1,000-meter specialist. We had a crack at the nursery, but she's just too quick. VJ's Angel is quite nice. She won quite well the other day. She's also a nice 2-year-old. The older horses, I've got Golden Sickle. She's nice. We're gonna have a crack at the Mercury at the end of the season. Whether she gets a 12 or not, we'll have to find out. But over 1,000, she's a filly to pencil in. She's finished second in the computer form sprints and unlucky to win it. So she's really nice. I've got the horse Money Asked, yours. He's nice.
Yeah, he's a nice horse. Eh? We're going to talk about my horses then. Money Heist, we're looking forward to seeing him again. You're breaking up again.
Jordan, who
Hello?
came out to win quite well after that.
You disappeared there for a bit, Tony. Just go back to Money Heist.
He's won his first start with us.
Yes.
He looks like an exciting horse. And then, yeah, we've got a few really nice up-and-coming horses, mainly a young string. But we've got a handful of nice horses that we think that will contest in the bigger races.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm particularly looking forward to seeing Money Heist run again. I'm looking forward to seeing Bob. He'll be out soon. I've got a very nice 2-year-old with you. Well, I've got a couple of 2-year-olds with you. I'm looking forward to seeing them run. And from a punter's perspective, I think it's just good that the horses run consistent and they're always there or thereabouts. Because you mentioned the 50 Rand or the old lady with her last 50 Rand. And I know that that's always an anecdote that everybody uses, but everybody's last 50 Rand is almost, it's important. And when horses run consistent and people can take their PAs or and the horses are there or thereabouts, I think
that's the main thing. That's the main thing. The punters are what keep the game rolling, and if they're happy,
100%.
then everybody's happy.
The punters definitely need a voice. But what I've grown to learn about the punters is they really only have their own individual voice. So the only way, and I read a very interesting stat once about Joe Moreira, right? So when Joe Moreira was riding in Hong Kong, all of his horses were overbet. All of them. So pretty much like Richard Fourie now, they're all overbet. They're all shorter than they should be, right? Which that
I think they've had the same problem with Zach Purton at the moment.
Yeah, and that brings its own problems, right? But when you have, by and large, right, when you have Joe Moreira delivering, when people know that if I just blindly back Tony Peter, 20% of the time he's going to win. And let me tell you how much percent of the time you're going to run in the money. And 44% of the time you're going to run in the money. I know I'm getting a run for my money. And that is so important. It's like, and now that they've heard you saying that you're up for greater governance, you place your horses carefully, right? What I've learned in racing is there's a lot of innuendo and misunderstanding. That's why I try and be a little bit controversial sometimes, just to provoke thought. But you've said you don't want to run two horses in a race, but that doesn't mean that if you run two horses in the race, there's anything going on. But this is the only race for these two horses, and they're both going out to do their best.
100%.
That's a fair comment, right? And that's what people want to know. And I think if they take anything from today's interview, you've sat, you've answered all the questions, Tony. Could I've been a bit more probing? Maybe we'll do another episode, but I wanted people to get to know you as you are, because you are really a good oak and you're a great trainer. You've given some horses for the Oaks to follow. What else can I ask you? Let's chuck a bit of arrogance in there, just a little bit. How long before you champion? Like, just give us a time frame. A year, 2, 5?
At this stage of the game, I'm not going to answer that question.
Oh, they'll slaughter you on social media.
Yeah,
they'll slaughter you. Tony says he will be champion. But it must be a dream, right? It must be. Or is it a dream? Or is it just do you just become champion because you happen to be good at everything else? Is that good enough?
I'm sure everything starts from a dream.
Yeah. Yeah, you keep fading. You're fading out again. Hello? Yeah, you keep fading away, Tony. No, you're muted now. Yeah, there we go. You're back. Yeah, everything starts from a dream, you were saying.
Yeah, everything starts from a dream. Without a dream, nothing goes anywhere. So I think it all starts from a dream, and you got to build on a dream. And
yeah,
I'm a bit of a dreamer. Sometimes can make my duck swans, but that's what fuels the fire. That's what gets us up in the morning. That's what gets us going. And if you're just gonna go through the motions and just do what you have to do, I don't see there
you're
much
right.
purpose.
But do you follow football, Tony?
Not too much.
Okay, so Pep Guardiola, he's really revolutionized football management. But although I don't think they actually set out to win the Premiership at the start of a season, right? They literally set out to win the next game, and they focus on that game only, because the
100%.
maths is simple. Like if you win X amount of games, so deep down inside, does he want to be champion? Do they want to win the Premier League? Probably, absolutely. But I think if you make that the focus, then you might lose focus on the journey, because whether you're a football manager or a racehorse trainer, all those little gains along the way. The biggest difference is you have won 20% of the horses you've sent out. That means you've failed 80% of the time, by the way.
Yeah.
In no other sport, apart from golf or tennis, can you actually fail that much and be successful. It's
100%.
really difficult racing. And for the punters that are watching, for the viewers, whether you've just switched on, whatever, racing is very hard. It is
Very
so
difficult.
hard.
Very difficult.
Yeah, it's just a tough game, and that's why when you do have the wins, you've got to rejoice and you've got to just bloody make the best of it. Tony, thank you for your time. I don't have any more questions for you. I'm sure we're going to get some on the comments as usual. I'll see you soon, and we'll do a follow-up at the end of the season or early next season. Thanks for everything.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I still don't know how you managed to get me on, but I really enjoyed it, and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. I will let the viewers enjoy this, follow the horses that you mentioned, and look forward to seeing you in the #1 box soon. Take care.
Lekker, Joe. Thanks. Cheers.
Bye.